I was dead for 9 minutes, and God showed me the terrifying truth about the world of fame.
Those glamorous contracts are really soul pacts.
Maya Carter, 16 years old, never imagined that an ordinary day could become the thin line between life and death. That afternoon, May 3rd, her mind was filled only with trivial concerns. The upcoming chemistry exam made her slightly anxious, but not enough to lose sleep. She was figuring out how to ask her dad for $20 to buy a ticket to see her favorite band. The thing that annoyed her the most at the moment was simply that her favorite pair of jeans was still in the laundry. Maya's life had been simple and safe. Her worries revolved around school, friends, and family. She had a little brother named Leo who drove her crazy with his mischief, yet deep down, she loved him. Her mom baked the best chocolate chip cookies Maya had ever tasted, filling their home with a warm, comforting aroma. Never had Maya thought that such small, ordinary moments were so precious. Yet within minutes, everything would change. There was no warning, no sign. She didn't know that her time with the people she loved was already ticking away. When she tells this part, her voice trembles, not from fear, but from the realization of how fragile the things she once took for granted truly are. The story begins with details that might seem forgettable, but they form the backdrop for a profound truth. None of us know when it will be the last day we get to live in the rhythm of our ordinary lives. It started so small, just a faint itch in her throat. Maya had no idea it was the first ripple of a coming storm. Within seconds, the itch turned into a burning sensation, as if thousands of tiny needles were piercing her from the inside. Breathing grew heavier, every attempt to draw air felt like sucking through a straw far too narrow. Her heartbeat pounded wildly, so fast it seemed her chest might burst. She tried to call for her mom, but the sound that came out was only a weak, hoarse gasp. Her throat swelled, lips taking on a bluish hue. In the mirror, Maya saw a face she barely recognized, eyes wide with terror, breath in fragments, life seemingly slipping away. Part of her began to realize she might never see her loved ones again. Her vision blurred. The sounds around her faded into a distant haze. The buzzing of her phone with a friend's message became nothing more than a faint signal. Her legs gave out, body collapsing onto the floor, as darkness swallowed everything. But strangely, it wasn't the end. Maya felt the weight of her body vanish. The fear dissolved with it. She could see herself from a distance, a motionless body on the floor, while she still existed, no longer bound to that form. And in that moment, Maya understood, the boundary between life and death was nothing like she had imagined. Maya floated, no longer aware of weight or the boundaries of a body. Below her, she saw her own form lying still on the floor, like a forgotten doll. Strangely, she felt no fear. All the panic from moments before had vanished, replaced by an indescribable calm. Sounds reached her from a curious distance, the faint noise of her mother doing something in the kitchen, the roll of car tires along their familiar street. Everything was as it had been, yet Maya knew she was now in a different layer of reality, where time and space no longer worked the same way. She moved without walking, carried along by an invisible current. The ceiling offered no resistance, she drifted through it like smoke. Above were dusty boxes, old forgotten items, then the roof, and suddenly, her entire neighborhood spread out before her. She saw the neighbor's radiant garden, the playground where she learned to ride her bike, and the small roads leading to the park. What overwhelmed her most was the new way of seeing. It felt as if she could look in all directions at once, the entire world condensed before her. No longer trapped in a frail body, Maya felt free. In that moment, she began to realize that life does not end when breath stops. There is a part of us that rises above the body, and that part continues its journey. Maya didn't yet know where she was headed, but deep within, she sensed she was being guided. If you, too, long for the Lord's protection and guidance through every trial, leave a comment, Amen, as your prayer. This light was unlike anything Maya had ever seen. It didn't blind or push her away. Instead, it embraced her like arms that had been waiting for her all along. With every step closer, she felt she wasn't just approaching the light, she was becoming part of it. It wasn't merely a place, it was a presence, with a soul, with life, with a heartbeat. Within it, all memories of striving to prove herself, of trying to please others, suddenly felt meaningless. Here, there were no questions like, am I good enough, or, what do they think of me? The light saw through Maya, not by what she had done, but by who she truly was. And what it conveyed was an absolute truth. She was enough, always had been, always would be. Maya realized this feeling was stronger than any moment of happiness she'd ever known, greater than a childhood hug, greater than the joy of achieving a dream. It was wholeness she never knew existed. She didn't need to speak, but deep inside she wanted to ask, who are you? The answer came not in words, but as a wave of emotion and awareness flooding her mind. This was the source of all love, the one who had always been there, even when she hadn't noticed. In that moment, Maya understood she had touched what so many search for their entire lives, a place where she truly belonged. Before Maya stood a presence she had never met, yet felt deeply familiar. There was something in him that made her feel both sheltered like a child in a father's arms and understood like confiding in a lifelong friend. No introduction was needed. Deep inside, she knew this was the one who had been with her all along, though she hadn't realized it. His eyes carried no scrutiny, only an embrace of everything she had ever been through. As she looked into them, her entire life unfolded, every childhood scrape, every moment of weakness or selfishness, every lingering regret. Yet strangely, no shame arose. Instead came the profound relief of being completely understood and wholly accepted. He didn't say, I forgive you, because there had been no condemnation in the first place. He simply conveyed a truth both simple and eternal, I saw you then, and I love you still. The wounds and self-doubt she had carried for years seemed to melt away, replaced by a warmth that spread through her very soul. Maya realized that in his presence, all masks and all striving for approval lost their meaning. He did not love a polished, pretend version of her, he loved the real her. The first message from him wasn't some lofty command, it was a gentle, almost playful thought that echoed directly in her mind. That chemistry test doesn't seem so important now, does it, Maya? His voice wasn't made of sound, yet it carried warmth and humor that made her smile inwardly. Just like that, any lingering tension dissolved. Information and feeling poured into her all at once, faster than words could ever travel. He showed her the difference between the body lying on the floor and the part of her standing before him now. The body was just a car, a vehicle that had run out of fuel. The soul was the driver, the true self, unbound by age, illness, or death. This realization was like a door swinging open. For years, Maya had tied her worth to appearance, achievements, and the opinions of others. Now she understood all of that was only a temporary shell. What mattered most could never be lost, even when the body ceased to function. Rather than fear, the awareness brought an incredible sense of freedom. She was no longer confined by the limits of the physical. She was part of something far greater, and he was living proof of it. While Maya was still wrapped in the warmth of unconditional love, his expression shifted. Still gentle, yet his eyes carried a deep, aching sorrow. "There are things you need to see," he said, and instantly, the scene around her changed. She was no longer in the pure, radiant light. It was as if a veil had lifted to reveal another world. At first came bright stage lights, roaring crowds, pounding music. Famous faces appeared, singers, actors, people Maya had once admired. They were beautiful, wealthy, celebrated as icons. But he didn't let her see only the surface. He let her feel what lay beneath the smiles and the glamour, a cold emptiness, a constant fear of being forgotten, a loneliness that never let go. The splendor was just a shell for weary souls bound by contracts they had signed, not mere paper agreements, but trades where a part of their soul was exchanged for spotlights and applause. Maya's heart ached. She had once dreamed of such a life, but now she saw the hidden cost. Fame and money came with a price few understood. Those contracts didn't just control their careers, they shifted the messages they sent to the world, from love and hope to emptiness and negativity. His voice was soft, yet it rang within her like a warning meant for all. When you trade your true light for a false one, the darkness will begin to control you. Maya found herself inside the very room where the signing took place. A long table, plush chairs, and an air that was heavy, not from dignity, but from a shadowed power that filled the space. Before her sat a young artist, their eyes still bright with hope and dreams, hands trembling as they held the pen. The moment the ink touched the paper, Maya saw what no one else in the room could see, a faint wisp of light, like steam, leaving the artist's body. That light was pulled toward the men seated across from them, powerful figures whose smiles never reached their eyes. At the same time, a small dark thread latched onto the artist's heart, connecting directly to them. "They call it a contract," he told Maya. "But in the true realm, it is a soul service pact." From that moment, the artist would no longer be entirely free. Every lyric, every role, every image shared, would be subtly guided by an unseen hand. Maya realized that songs once filled with love now praised emptiness and pain. Films began to glorify evil and diminish good. Influencers used their platforms to seed insecurity and shame in young people, convincing them their worth depended on possessions and appearance. He looked at her, his voice heavy yet unwavering. "This is the sickness spreading through your culture. They are the carriers, and the world doesn't know it's infected." The next veil lifted, and Maya saw an island that looked like paradise. Crystal blue waters, white sandy beaches, palm trees swaying in the breeze. Yet in an instant, she felt the truth. It was a wound on the earth, a place completely overtaken by darkness. The very air seemed to scream in agony. He shielded Maya from the worst of it, but he let her feel the terror of the innocent souls brought there. Powerful figures, top entertainers, politicians, businessmen, arrived on private yachts and jets. Outwardly, it was lavish parties, but in the true realm, it was a ritual of sacrifice. "The enemy cannot create anything new," he said. "He can only defile what is holy. And the innocence of a child is the holiest of all." Here, innocence was desecrated, because they believed destroying it gave them power. It was a form of spiritual vampirism, feeding darkness by consuming the soul's purity. Maya understood this place was the heart of the highest level power pacts. Those who wanted to climb to the top paid not just with promises or signatures, but with complicity in evil. And once they agreed, a dark cord bound them to the shadows, not easily broken. He looked into her eyes, making sure she remembered, here, souls are sold. Innocence is the currency. And everyone who takes part is binding themselves in chains of darkness. If you want God to protect the world from such places and powers, leave a comment, amen, and join in prayer. After witnessing it all, Maya asked in a trembling voice, can they be saved? He looked at her, eyes unwavering, filled with limitless love. No one is beyond redemption if they choose to return. But the path is costly. They must be willing to lose all the world has given, fame, money, power. And they must openly expose the darkness they once served. Few choose it, but the door is always open. The scene shifted again. Maya saw Leo, her little brother whom she loved more than anything, sitting in front of a screen, watching a famous influencer known for luxury and arrogance. His eyes shone with curiosity mixed with longing. And Maya saw it, a gray strand of energy, thin as smoke, drifting from the video to cling to him. This gray thread didn't harm immediately. It simply planted a seed, a sense of discontent, an urge for more, a whisper saying, what you have isn't enough. Maya understood, darkness didn't only work through distant rituals and grand pacts. It seeped into every home through the content people consumed each day. He turned to her, his voice ringing with strength yet still gentle, guard your heart. Watch what you allow your eyes and ears to take in. Do not worship idols of flesh and blood. Pray for those lost in the dark. And pray for the innocent. Your prayers push back the darkness in ways you cannot see. Maya stood in silence, her heart heavy. She knew the world beyond was wrapping her in a peace beyond compare, while the world she had just left was filled with pain, deception, and darkness. Deep down, she didn't want to return. She longed to stay where love was unconditional, where there were no tears, where she truly belonged forever. He listened to her silence, not pushing, but his eyes held complete understanding. Then he placed his hand on her shoulder, steady and gentle all at once. You still have work to do, he said slowly. Your family and your brother need you. I've shown you these things not to frighten you, but to equip you. Maya knew he was right. The image of Leo with that gray strand was still vivid in her mind. If she left, who would help him see and resist it? Who would tell others the truth she had just witnessed? There was only one answer. Tears streamed down her face, not from fear, but from the ache of leaving this light. She whispered, yes. I'll go back. It felt as if her heart was being torn in two, one part longing to stay, the other knowing she must leave. He smiled, a smile that seemed to hold the whole universe, and said, go in peace, Maya, and tell them I love them. Those words echoed, becoming the cord that would keep her connected to his love even when darkness surrounded her again. The wail of the ambulance siren faded into memory as Maya opened her eyes. The bright white light of the ambulance cabin made her squint. Her body ached, her throat raw from the breathing tube, but the first thing she realized was, she was back. Beside her, a paramedic leaned in, eyes a mixture of relief and astonishment. When the doctor later told her she had been in full cardiac arrest for about 9 minutes, Maya understood she had stood at the final threshold, and survival without severe brain damage was nothing short of a miracle. But this miracle wasn't given so she could go back to life as before. It was so she could bring a message. She remembered what she had seen, the dazzling stages, the soul contracts, the counterfeit paradise islands steeped in darkness. All wrapped in glitter to hide a poisonous core. She knew she had to speak, even if many would doubt or mock her. Her voice grew steady as she addressed others. That glittering world of fame isn't a dream, it's a trap. A carefully designed snare to make you believe your worth depends on the lights and the applause. But inside, it drains the soul. She paused, eyes locking as if speaking to each person listening. Don't trade your soul for fame. It's not worth it. You are of infinite value in God's eyes, and no empty promise from the world can replace that. As Maya retold her story, she didn't try to embellish or dramatize it. She knew some would believe, others would mock. But that no longer mattered. What mattered was that the message had been delivered, and she had done her part. What Maya experienced had completely transformed how she saw the world. She no longer dreamed of stage lights or applause. She began paying closer attention to what she watched, what she listened to, and what she allowed into her heart. She prayed more, for her family, for those lost in the dark, and for the innocent under threat. Every time she saw her little brother holding his phone, she remembered that gray strand from that day. Instead of scolding or forbidding, she chose to talk, to share, to help him discern what was real from what was false. She understood that darkness is not only defeated by force, but by the light we plant daily. Maya still carried the memory of being in God's embrace, that moment of knowing she was loved unconditionally. It became the source of strength that helped her stand against the temptations and illusions of the world. And she knew that one day, when her mission was complete, she would return to him, this time, forever. If you also long to remain in God's love and protection, guard your heart and don't let the world steal it. Leave a comment, Amen, as your promise to him.